In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this video and of my... I screwed up the outro. That's got to be a special kind of stupid. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode review. If it seems like I'm rushing through any particular part of this review, it's just because I'm expecting a video call from the professor soon, and he said that it's exciting news. Don't worry, I am completely focused on doing this review. Zoe built her bikes and Robbie got his heart stomped on, so now it's time to see what accomplishments and/or pathos Devin can bring to the table with his first Red Ranger Focus episode. Let's take a look at the 5th episode of Beast Morphers, Taking Care of Business. And you better believe if I could still do cutaways that I'd be playing a clip from the song right now. Devin shows up at a car wash meeting his father there. Before the mayor can explain what they're doing there, the boss man, whose last name is literally Sudsy, so what could he do but open a car wash, walks out and tells Devin that he's been hired on the spot and starts immediately. This was all set up by his father, who feels like he needs to get a job to get his life in order. Devin starts to tell his dad that he's a Power Ranger, but then he realizes that he can't, so he backs it down into needing time to practice for a video game tournament, which obviously doesn't fly with Mr. Daniels. He feels like his son just really needs to get started on building a resume and getting some work experience, and he begs Devin to take this opportunity. Impressed by his father's emotion, Devin agrees. Meanwhile, in the Strawberry Skies dimension, Evox continues to whine and complain about being trapped in the cyber dimension and saying that Morphex is the key for him to escape. Scrozzle starts to describe a plan that involves the fact that he's hacked into all of the cameras in the city, having apparently read RJ's notes on the subject, but Evox cuts him off because he says hopefully and he wants more solid results. Meaning that the only reason that this line was included was to establish that they can see everything in the city through the city's cameras. Nice little bit of script work there. Blaze has a solid plan, creating a Robotron that can literally cut into Morphex towers. Evox says it's a good idea, but it better work. Blaze, you better listen to him. If it doesn't work, Evox is going to scowl at you so hard. A little later on, Devin comes running into Grid Battle Force in his car wash uniform, wondering what was so important that they had to interrupt his lunch break. Though it's not actually a what, it's a who. Grid Battle Force is getting a visit from General Burke, one of the higher-ups in the organization. You may remember in a previous review that I said Commander Shaw's line about Ben and Betty helping out wherever she sees fit and in several areas where she doesn't see a fit might lead to some potential backstory for the two. Well, here it is. And all it is that Ben and Betty are the General's children. Zoe literally says, that explains a lot. So much for the deeper backstory. Anyway, the General suggests that they might be able to make use of some of the scrap pieces from their battles, as his children have suggested. Ben and Betty come bounding in to demonstrate with the Dog-O-Tronic, a robotic dog made out of tronic parts. I can't decide if this is more silly, cute, or annoying. Victor and Monty style, after some early success with the dog doing some simple tricks, it missed targets and goes after Ben instead of a mannequin, Betty chasing after them. Comedy. Anyway, Nate says they might have been onto something because it's possible that they can use Gigadrone parts in a similar fashion. The General approves the plan and tells them about a secret hangar west of the city. Why is it a secret if they're in the same organization? And Commander Shaw tells them to start gathering parts first thing in the morning. Knowing that this won't be easy for Devin, Robbie asks how long he has to hang on to this job, and Devin says it's until he can prove to his father that he's responsible. He says that he has shifts at the car wash every day this week. I guess Sudsy's is closed on the weekends. And you might think that's a little bit excessive, but I mean, hey, Coral Harbor has a serious traffic problem, even with Zoe's bikes. So there are a lot of cars. Zoe lets him off the hook, saying that she and Ravi can handle gathering the giant robot parts. So at work the next day, Devin sets aside his phone and communicator and gets to work. Ah, the old Tommy maneuver. No better way to use some ranger missing from the scene Sentai footage than I didn't have my communicator. Meanwhile, Ravi and Zoe start gathering giant robot parts, but Nate's scans reveal there's nothing useful so far. Devin's dad shows up at the car wash to take him to lunch as some positive reinforcement. Devin says he still has a lot of cars to wash, but this excuse really doesn't make any sense when you think about it. He's not the only person working at the car wash, and it's not like he's going home, it's just a lunch break. He can finish the car he's working on, someone else can take over, and let him go get lunch. I mean, I suppose Sudsy could have a rule about, like, finish cleaning 15 cars before you go to lunch, but usually in the business world, it's about what time you're going to lunch, not how many customers have been served. Anyway, the mayor himself is on lunch with 1 hour before his next meeting, so he decides instead to roll his sleeves up and help out, showing Devin some of the tricks he learned when he himself worked at a car wash while dating Devin's mother. It's a nice moment of bonding between the two, although... Nah, you know what, I'll save it for later. At a nearby construction site, a man walks away from a circular saw. Blaze then walks up to it. Not Blaze then teleports in, Blaze just walks up to it from off screen. And he turns the saw into Slicertron. Some of the crew see this and run away. Meanwhile, Ravi and Zoe stop in at the hangar to check in on Nate, but he still says that he hasn't found anything useful from the giant robot parts. We see a robotic head rolled by on a cart, and I'm sure that head is never going to come up again. So Ravi asks what all of these extra parts are. Nate is sort of moving into the hangar, or at the very least, using it as extra storage. Commander Shaw then calls and says Blaze and a Robotron have been spotted in town. At the car wash, Mayor Daniels leaves, and Devin turns on a vacuum, being unable to hear his communicator as a result of it. Ravi and Zoe show up at the construction site to confront Blaze, who taunts them for being understaffed. Hey, Blaze, where's Roxy? Understaffed, huh? Slicertron throws saw blades at them, something so tense and dramatic that we just have to cut away to the opening theme. After we've taken 30 seconds to calm down a bit, the Rangers dodge the saw blades and morph. A nice side-by-side morph that gives me a little bit of hope that this will finally be the season that we get solo morph sequences back. Blaze morphs as well, and as weird as this might sound, I'm actually kind of hoping that we get a stock morphing sequence for him. I just think it would look really cool. The two sides start fighting, and early on, Blaze has the advantage. Back at the car wash, Devin finishes up with the vacuum and finally hears his communicator. He tells Sudsy that he has an emergency and has to leave immediately. Sudsy goes, again? Despite us not having seen this happen the first time. Blaze keeps literally kicking the two Rangers around, and then Slicertron knocks down some really light-looking scaffolding that still, for some reason, knocks the Rangers down. Devin then shows up and runs in a circular tornado thing around the Rangers, the wind pushing away all of the debris. It kind of seems like he could have just attacked, and the Rangers could have just gotten up, but anyway. Blaze taunts the leader of the team for showing up late, and after the other two stop Devin from telling Blaze what the Five Fingers said to the face, they summon their blasters, and Devin combines a running slash with their blast to chase the two villains off. Ravi thanks Devin for saving his life by telling him off for showing up late. He almost overheated, and Zoe is going to need an entire bowl of carrots. Zoe agrees it's just not going to work for Devin to have this job and be a Power Ranger. But Devin can't give it up now. He's seen that his father is finally proud of him, and he doesn't want to give that up. Sudsy then calls Devin. The line to the car wash is apparently down to the street and around the block, so he's going to have to stay late tonight. The next day at work, Devin is hard at work washing the cars when Sudsy walks out to talk to him. Devin says he'll get all the cars done, but Sudsy says if he's going to work there, he has to be there or he's going to be fired. We're not going to deal with any of this leaving one time for something you said was an emergency. Robbie and Zoe then show up at the car wash to offer their help. Devin says that's not necessary, but Robbie says that they're a team and they help each other out. Here's the note that I was saving from Devin's dad helping him out earlier. This is not how businesses work. This is not a charity car wash. It's a professional business. At a car wash, workers would have to be trained on proper washing techniques to make sure they don't injure themselves, signed off on certain chemicals that they use on a daily basis, be covered by the workplace's insurance, while friends coming to help wouldn't be, etc. I'm sorry, that's just the real world. In the cyber dimension, Scrozzle is watching the camera feeds when he notices that the Rangers have all taken off their communicators and dropped off their color-coded cell phone cases, leaving them unguarded in the open. As the Rangers wash cars, Blaze and Slicertron head over to the car wash, and Slicertrons, the communicators, and the phones, very smart point on the ladder there, and then the two head for a Morphex tower. Later in the day, the Rangers finish up cleaning all of the cars when Commander Shaw rolls up in a Grid Battle Force vehicle, and no, she's not looking for a car wash. She chews the Rangers out for not answering their communicators because while they were washing cars, Blaze and the Robotron hit a Morphex tower. Fortunately, the tower was nearly empty, and they only got away with about 300 tons. Excuse me? 300 tons? Geez, you're telling me that's not enough to transport Evox? Nameless Grid Battle Force lady that we all really want a backstory for calls and says that Blaze and the Robotron are headed for another Morphex tower. Shaw tells the Rangers to go, also making sure to mention to have Nate send them new communicators. Nice little touch there. But Devin says that he needs to tell his boss that he's leaving first. Sudsy says this is it. If you leave now, you are fired. It's not like Devin has a choice in the matter, so he leaves, and Sudsy says that his father is going to hear about this. That is actually incredibly unprofessional. Even if Devin is a minor, which I kind of doubt at this point, you only deal with the parents when it comes to some kind of legal necessities. Otherwise, let the worker be their own person and deal with their own consequences. The Rangers apparently morphed in the car as they catch up to Slicertron and an already remorphed Blaze for round 2. Meanwhile, the mayor's limo is driving nearby as Sudsy indeed calls the mayor to tattle on Devin. But then some rubble from the fight falls right in front of the limo, making the mayor get out. He sees a little girl run around the corner just in time to be in danger from some saw blades. After a commercial, Devin uses his super speed to run in and save the girl. He and the mayor stare at each other for a moment before Devin gets back to the fight. Robbie uses a gorilla-powered punch to knock Blaze back, and he retreats to the cyber dimension. He tells Scrozzle that he needs a Gigadroid, but Scrozzle is already way ahead of him. He's busting out a brand new Gamma model and says that it has a special secret power that should help. Is it turning into a giant version of the Hulk? Slicer Droid lands and heads for a nearby Morphex tower. Shaw tells the Rangers, and Devin asks for Cruz and the Racer Zord, but they're already on the way because everybody's just on the same wavelength today, I guess. Robbie and Zoe stay on the ground to handle the Tron. Devin battles the droid in the Racer Zord's battle mode, but the Gamma droid shows off a brand new feature, the one that was mentioned by Scrozzle. It's an energy shield that can block incoming attacks. When the Racer Zord hits the shield, it fries the Zord systems, requiring a complete reboot. The tower is now totally undefended, so Commander Shaw sends in Smash and Jax to pilot their Zords alone. They manage to get the droid's attention, but the shield still drives them back. The droid is even able to keep sucking in Morph X and hold up a hand and fire missiles at them at the same time. Gotta love being able to multitask. Robbie and Zoe take care of Slicertron by catching and throwing back some of its saw blades and then using a Beast X blast. The Racer Zord is still taking damage, but it's nearly rebooted, and Devin calls Nate to explain his plan. The droid was able to take out his Zord's systems. If he can hit the droid just right to take out its systems, they could stop it and capture it, not exploded, not fried, perhaps useful. Hitting it just right involves, apparently, charging the sword, throwing it at the shield like a dart, and then jumping at it and pushing the sword through the shield. It's actually a neat, unique finishing move, and you might have noticed they actually didn't use the Cheetah Beast Blaster this week, and now they have a brand new Gigadroid to pick at. Nate is amazed that he has a brand new Gigadroid to data mine. That's right, this thing has only been used once. It's practically mint in box. The general is there and notices that Devin seems down, and he's confused about that. It's Devin that saved the day, and it was his idea that led to them capturing this Gigadroid. But Devin dismisses the question and says he's fine. Nate says that they can get rid of all that useless Gigadroid scrap now, but Ben and Betty come running in to say, no, it's still useful. They've managed to somehow attach a remote control to a giant Gigadroid arm. Ben activates it, and it grabs Betty like Fay Ray in King Kong. How's that for a contemporary reference, kids? Then throwing her into the air and making Ben catch her. The general actually has the perfect reaction to this, staring at the two with a raised eyebrow before forcing a big belly laugh. Over at the Riptide gym, Devin calls his dad to check in since he heard that the mayor was caught up in a ranger battle. He says he's fine, but he heard that Devin got fired from the car wash. All Devin can do is apologize, but Mayor Daniels says that Devin's not as sorry as he is. Oof. To make things even more fun, as Ravi and Zoe say supportive things to Devin, they notice that the mayor is on TV for a news conference to officially thank the Power Rangers and express how proud he is of them. So it turns out that Mayor Daniels is proud of his son. He just doesn't know it yet. I like guns and I like blades, and now we're gonna throw some shades. Gonna throw some shades. Episode 5, Taking Care of Business. Pros, attention to detail, a great superhero identity story, great character development for Devin and Mayor Daniels, and a little success for the bad guys. Yeah, that's right, 4 pros. Cons, a couple of slightly confusing notes, Ben and Betty again, and the problem has a really simple solution they never address. You know something? I had planned to give this episode another 4.5, but there are 4 pros and the cons are minor. Taking Care of Business gets 5 shades out of 5. One thing that really stood out to me about this episode is how in multiple cases, tiny little details that only a nitpicker like me would really notice were explained with those 1 simple lines that I begged Ninja Steel to give us. Why can Scrozzle see everything that's going on in the city, like the neural aligner last week, or the Rangers communicators being in the open this week? He's hacked into Coral Harbor's cameras, and he presented it as part of a possible plan that Evox dismissed, so it's not like the line was said just to be said. Remember how last week Commander Shaw pointed out it was odd that the Robotron didn't seem to be after MorphX? That's going to be a thing sometimes. Sometimes the plan is going to involve taking out the Rangers instead of gathering MorphX. But they've still got to teleport, Blaze and Roxy still have to morph, they still have to make Gigadrones, Robotrons, and all of that stuff, right? In this episode, the villains score a major haul of MorphX, even if it was something Commander Shaw painted as minor. So now the villains don't have to focus so strongly on getting MorphX. It was wise enough for the villains to spot and destroy the Rangers communicators. It was next level smart for them to also destroy their phones. These were the type of tiny details that Ninja Steel just missed so often. And it's just amazing, this level of detail for someone like me who focuses on the finer details. I'm not sure that we've ever quite gotten a Power Rangers story like this. Maybe once or twice. People who know the franchise better than me can tell me. This is not just a good Power Rangers story. This is a good superhero story for any superhero that has a secret identity. Anyone who's been a Power Rangers fan for a long time has surely imagined themselves as a Power Ranger, and having these normal lives with school and or jobs. I mean, I've certainly imagined what would happen if I was at work and needed to go be a ranger. It's just a really great story to tell because it's interesting and complicated and messy. Messy is good for storytelling. This story does not have a very happy ending. Sure, it's kind of nice for Devin to hear that his father is proud of the Red Ranger, but it's also kind of mentally straining, frustrating, and depressing. I just really enjoyed how complicated and messy this plot was. I waited 2 years for Ninja Steel to deal with there being a monster attack during class, and it never happened. This was a great episode specifically for the development of the relationship between Devin and his dad, with great character growth for both of them. We got the demonstration that Mayor Daniels really does want to be happy about his son, and that when you get the issue of feeling like he's wasting his life aside, the two of them are really able to bond. Devin then has to sacrifice that bond for the good of saving the world, and the flip in Daniel's character between being happy with Devin and not being happy with Devin was really amazing. And I mentioned this in the finer details thing, but the villains succeeded in a 300-ton fashion. They completed a successful operation, and that is so important to them actually being scary and us worrying about what they can pull off even within our suspension of disbelief. What did Galvanax ever accomplish after the Ninja Steel Rangers showed up? And don't even get me started on Madame Odious. This episode gave us a direct demonstration of why Coral Harbor needs the Power Rangers. Alrighty, let's take our medicine and get through the bad things because they are both few and minor. There were a couple of little confusing details that didn't quite make sense. It could be cultural distance between New Zealand and America, it could be plot simplicity, but whatever. One is Devin's friends and his father coming to help out at his job. I understand that they weren't running a register, they weren't handling the store's money, but still, like I said, there's insurance, there's paperwork. You can't just have friends show up and start doing things. Heck, actually, Ranger Liz pointed out in her review that Devin didn't even have to do any of his own paperwork before he started working. A bigger deal to me was how quickly Sudsy got upset about Devin's disappearances. Now, obviously him getting upset in and of itself is fine, that really does make sense, but Sudsy seems to get upset about a disappearance that actually ended up getting written out of the script and didn't happen. The first time Devin pulls this, Sudsy goes, "Again?" Despite that being the first time that it happened. When it happens a second time, Devin gets fired on the second strike. Now listen, I'm not saying that 2 strikes on that sort of thing isn't enough to fire a worker. It just seems like it's a little strict because most places would use a 3-strike system, right? The first time you get a verbal warning, don't do that again. The second time it's a written warning, last chance, don't pull that stuff again. The third time, get out. Now, I also watched Japanime's review, of course, and he indicated that Sudsy's "again" was probably referring to the lunch break Devin took to come meet General Burke. But Devin specifically mentions that that was a break. He didn't leave his shift, he was on break. He could go do whatever he wanted. Even if he was late getting back from his break, that's not the same violation. It was just a rare miss on those finer details. Ben and Betty, Ben and Betty. Okay, listen, they were slightly more connected to the plot this time, since they gave Nate the idea to try salvaging Gigadrome parts. But again, and if this keeps happening, I promise not to harp on it every week, but please don't make them try to look capable and like idiots at the same time. They can reprogram grunt parts and control giant robot arms, but can't do either of those things effectively enough for it to be helpful. That closeness to capability is what's really frustrating about them. I go back to Evox's revenge for these two all the time. They alerted the Rangers to the details of an attack. They went into battle with the Rangers with only a slight bit of hesitation. They saved Devin. They were actually kind of capable. I get that they need to mess up in order to be funny, I guess. But just like the villains, we need to see these two be totally, completely, no jokes, capable at some point in order to actually care about them. And I decided to save this point to be completely 100% unique for the pros and cons section, and it's not like I forgot to write about it in the script until this point. That would be crazy. Anyway, this was a good story that was complicated and messy and real and all that stuff I said before. One little tiny problem with it is that it has a really simple solution. Devin could be hired by Grid Battle Force. Zoe's character arc establishes that Grid Battle Force has non-militaristic jobs like the laundry department. Heck, having Devin work in the laundry department would be a perfect connection because Zoe would be that link between Mayor Daniels and Devin to get him into that job. Now you might be saying, forge credentials for a fake job? Why, that would only be something that an organization that employs spies and secret agents would... Oh, wait. Now, there is a counterpoint to this, again, from Japanime, that the story giving us this simple solution means that it doesn't end on such a messy note and thus isn't quite as interesting. And I actually do tend to agree, the ending wouldn't have been as good if it had just ended on this easy, happy note. However, this problem should have still been addressed so that it's not a plot hole, and in fact, there's an easy way that they could have done so. Devin gets the idea that he can get a job working at Grid Battle Force. Does his father approve of this? Of course not! He didn't even want Devin entering Grid Battle Force. He definitely doesn't trust them enough to have his son working around the labs where they're messing with the morphing grid. I mean, even after he says that he trusts and is proud of the Power Rangers now, Grid Battle Force isn't a safe enough place for his son to be working at, right? But in the end, this was just another fantastic episode. And I actually realized something as I changed the score from 4.5 to 5. I gave Beast Unleashed a 5, the first 5 I'd given the TV show in over 2 years. That was momentous, but it was also the premiere. There was anticipation and excitement involved. This is a middle, early season Red Ranger focus episode that was all but filler. And it was just so well written and acted and executed that I still can't believe that we have the exact same writing team that we had for Ninja Steel. For a run-of-the-mill episode in the middle of the season to get a 5 out of 5 is pretty stupendous. It just gets harder and harder to maintain any sense of skepticism for Beast Morphers. It's just going from strength to strength. We've now gone through a set of 3 Ranger Focus episodes, and while I really would love and hope that Blaze and Roxy get Focus episodes, and I mean by themselves, Digital Deception, Roxy kind of shared with Ravi, instead we're going to back things up to a general team focus. Let's take a peek at the 6th episode of Beast Morphers, Hangar Heist. Nate develops new technology from a captured Gigadrone, and Devin struggles with fully trusting his team. That is going to do it for another Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much, as always, for watching. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode, as well as my review of it. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button and let me know that you enjoyed this video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all of my videos, and ring that bell. Get your notifications set up so you can be notified whenever I post brand new videos like these Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode reviews. And if you'd like to lend any financial support to my channel, you can go to ko-fi.com/OrangeRangerVideos. Buy me a coffee set at $3 a piece. That would be very nice. Or digitaltipjar.com/OrangeRangerVid and toss me whatever tip change you'd like in that jar. I'd be grateful for anything I find at either of those sources. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you.
Incoming video call from Professor McFlyzer.
Oh, good. Finally, it's time. Put it through. Hello, Orange Ranger. Victor... Ravi and Zoe show up where Blaze and the... Ravi thanks Devin for saving his life by immediately telling him off for showing up late. Robbie and Zoe stay on the ground and Slicer Droid lands and heads for a nearby Morphex tower. And Devin calls Nate to explain its plan. Its plan, his plan. The first time Devin runs off, Sudsy goes, "Again?"